Pap, or as some of us call it, ogi or akamu, is more than just breakfast. It is culture. It's childhood served in a bowl. But have you ever tried making this completely from scratch? In this video, I'm taking you behind the scenes to show you how I turned simple corn into this silky, nourishing pap. It's perfect for babies starting solids and recommended for nursing mothers because it helps boost milk production. Let me show you how it's done. To make today's pap, I'm using yellow corn, guinea corn, and red millet. I started by washing my corn thoroughly. I did this by pouring it in a bowl, added some salt, and washed it thoroughly until all the dirt comes off. Cereals always come with a lot of dirt and chaff, so you want to wash this and remove all those dirt before you go to the next phase. Next, I washed my red millet. I also did the same thing I did for my corn. I added some salt and I washed that till all the dirt came off. I did this process for like 3 times. You can do it for less, but I did it until I was satisfied that the dirt has reduced or had completely gone off before going to the next phase. Lastly, I wash my guinea corn. Guinea corn is quite tricky, even though I'm using the same process I used in washing the other ones. But for this, I am very careful because as you can see that there's so much of it floating, and this is so tiny. So if you're not careful, you might end up wasting it because if you try to pour it on your colander, it will go right through. So I use a very tiny sieve like I'm doing in the video, so that I don't end up pouring all this dirt into my sink. We're going to be letting this ferment because that is how we get pap. You can let it ferment for 24 to 48 hours. I fermented mine for 48 hours because I wanted it to be so silky and get all those probiotics in. You know, fermentation is what gives pap that tangy flavor and helps load it with lots of probiotics, perfect for the gut and aids digestion. I transferred all the grains into this bucket. This bucket is clean. I don't use it for anything else, just my food processing like this and for storing water in the kitchen. You can use any large bowl that can contain everything, and then you top it off with enough water and let it ferment. This is what we have after 24 hours. If you're going for 24 hours fermentation, you can stop at this point, just rinse off and blend. But if you're going for 48 hours like me, you completely remove that old water, rinse it off, and then top it up with fresh water and let it ferment for another 24 hours. And this is what we have after 48 hours. I went ahead to remove this fermented water, rinsed it off again, and then took it for blending. For this quantity that I did, I took it out for commercial blending. I didn't blend at home because this quantity is too much for my blender to handle. But if you're doing a smaller quantity, you can blend at home. This is what it looks like after blending. I transferred this into a different bowl because this bucket is what I'm going to use for my sieving. I don't have a bigger bowl, but if you do have a bigger bowl, then skip this step. I started by tying my mesh cloth around the bucket. If you're using a bowl, you also have to do this. Tie that mesh cloth around whatever container you are using because you don't want this dipping in when you're washing. This is where the real work is. Sieving this with our mesh cloth to separate the starch from the chaff. One tip that has always worked for me is to always add enough water. Let what you're sieving always be running. Once I see it getting thick, like you can see in this video, I top off with more watery part. At some point I had to loosen up the one in the bowl with my hands to avoid it clumping on that mesh cloth. If you're still watching at this point, don't forget to like this video and drop a comment. Tell me, will you be trying out this method of making pap? And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be dropping more recipes like this. You'll find healthy meals for your family and easy and budget friendly recipes. And finally, we squeeze out all the water from the mesh cloth. And this is what we have, our drained pap, or would I call it corn starch. And this is the chaff. Everything is dry and nothing is left. This last step is optional. Because I'm storing this in my freezer, I'm going to be sieving it again, or let's say draining it with my cheesecloth. This time I want it to be very thick and I don't want any water to be left in it. So I transferred this to my cheesecloth. I tied it and left it to drain overnight in my fridge. You can also drain on your countertop. There's no hard rule to this. I just like being extra. If you don't have a freezer, there's no need to worry. You can also store this in just water, but remember to always change the water every 24 hours. Now this is what I have after draining for 10 hours. So I transferred this into storage containers and went ahead and stored in my freezer. One of the advantages of storing in freezer is that it gives it a longer shelf life. This can stay for up to 6 months or even more frozen. Now time to turn this into the perfect breakfast. I scooped some of this pap into a bowl, added some water and made it into a paste, not too thick, not too runny. The secret to having the perfect pap at one try is to make sure your paste is neither too thick nor too runny, like you can see. When it was ready, I poured in boiling water. Emphasis on boiling water because you don't want to start praying, God abeg o. I won't lie, at this point I was praying, hey, may this pap no fall my hand though. A whole pro like me. Well, this is what we have. This is it. To finish, I topped it with milk and it's ready to enjoy. Pap pairs beautifully with akara, moi-moi or fried plantain, and it can also be enjoyed on its own. For babies, it's a nourishing first meal, and for nursing mothers, it is valued because it supports breast milk production. Let me know in the comments, what have you learned from this video and what will you pair your pap with? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Bye.